Hello and welcome to Hearts and Hears. Hears as
difficult TV.
Hello and welcome to Hearts and Heels. We're so excited you guys joined us today. We know we got a lot going on in the nation, a lot going on in the world, a lot going on in the studio today. We're so glad that you guys decided to join us. Stick with us. I'm one of your hosts, Mia.
And I'm Arnisha. Thank you once again for joining us on this wonderful Thursday evening. Don't forget to chime in. We're going to have a great conversation for you tonight. Give us a call at 269-6785. And don't forget to watch us on Facebook Live at Shay Melton Robinson.
And I am Shay. Shay Robinson. We're excited to be here on this Thursday evening. Thank you so much for joining us, and make sure you be ready to call in and hang out with us tonight. This week has really been a tough, trying week. It's been a really tough, trying
Another
week.
tough trying.
One of many.
Yes, and the world is just experiencing so many civil unrest now, especially with the recent shootings. So we, first of all, before we go any further, we're praying for the families that have been affected, and both the victims and the officers that are involved. We're praying for you both so that we all can heal. And it's so many things. In case you have been out of the loop, we have had two recent shootings of black men, one in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the other one in Charlotte. And we're definitely discussing that on tonight. We're going to talk about what's next. Now, what really interested me when it first happened is, what was Donald Trump going to say?
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to see
How he was going to respond.
yeah,
Show us
Something like
how
this.
you would react as commander-in-chief. Is that what you're saying?
or even acknowledge it, because I don't think before he even acknowledged the shootings in the respect that it was African American
He
men
was
that
very
was,
evasive.
yeah, it was
Very
more about the
evasive
police
before.
and the police and the police. So I really want to know how he responded, because when I watched the video of the
Terrence Crutcher.
in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when I watched the video, I didn't see any way that it should have happened the way it happened. So I was wondering, how would he respond? And what's amazing to me is that he actually said that, I don't know, it looked like his hands was up. I don't know why this happened. So I was kind of shocked that he actually said it. But then I realized who was interviewing him, the pastor that's all over the place he was interviewing. So that was really interesting. But I really respected what Hillary Clinton had to say about the situation. And she just said that, we have to be in a place, she was speaking to white people saying we got to let them know that this is not who we are.
Yeah.
And so I really thought those were interesting perspectives, considering
Well, saying that we have to let them know that's not who we are, for me, doesn't do anything for me, because it is who some people are. Because if it wasn't who you are, then it wouldn't be happening.
Right.
So that's not enough. How about the harshest penalty for anyone who uses a gun before thinking twice? How about that? In both ways.
I think that
If someone can go to jail for 20 years for marijuana possession, you should go to jail for life for taking someone's life without thinking twice.
period. And I think as far as Hillary's statement, when she said that, and she basically outright said, I'm speaking directly to white people. I think that to me, what I got from it is that she's using her platform, being a white American, that, she does have an impact as far as what she says. And for her to say, I'm speaking directly to white people, and then she said what she said, we have to show them this is not who we are. I kind of took it as that was kind of courageous, I think, of her to in the position that she's in,
To use
and
the words of race in your
yes,
sentencing
and
because we're so shy
right,
from that.
being this close to election time, and being a presidential candidate, the top for the Democratic Party. I think
It wasn't
that
a statement
was
for
kind
all
of-
votes. It was a statement from the heart.
Right.
I truly believe that until we change how people see African American people, then the culture won't change. If they continue to see us as dogs, if we're not headliners in movies, if we're not on the main screen on commercials, if we're not the headliner, if the culture of America is not taught that you can trust a blonde-haired, blue-eyed person just as much as you can trust a black-haired, brown-eyed person, then we're going to always raise people of hate, period.
I do agree that we do have to change nationally. We have to change our perspective of what we think of. When we think of an African American, what do we think of? Is an African American considered second class?
They're considered lazy. But it's what's so funny to me, and I feel a little militant media coming out. What's so funny to me is that we weren't deemed lazy until we stopped working for free. Hello, somebody.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
That's right.
I mean, now that you say it, because
We weren't deemed lazy until we started working for. The main reason they decided to use African Americans as slaves is because, number one, the Indian said, "I'm gonna die before you do this to me," and secondly, we were the men were seen to be very stout, able to lift hard, be able to go in hard and work all day and still have stamina the next morning. That was the description when they sold us, and I'll use Montgomery as an example. When they sold us where the fountain is today in the downtown Montgomery, that was the bill of sale. This black man here, he can work all day and get up in the morning. This woman here, she's a stout black woman, and she can bear many children to work the field. We were glorious then.
So
Shine us up with oil.
So let's think about this. They considered African Americans to be stronger,
Strong workers,
and they were more strong-willed,
dependent,
dependable. So those are all the things that they're afraid of.
They're afraid of.
exactly.
That
But
was
now,
what they were afraid of it then.
we're lazy and shiftless. Now that you have to pay us to work.
I mean, that's an interesting perspective. I never thought about it like that.
And when the Emancipation Proclamation came about, you had a certain amount of time before you could no longer have slaves.
Right.
So then the sharecroppers are, I'm upset. Who am I going to get to work this land? I can't afford to pay y'all. Now y'all can live on the land where you used to live for free. Y'all can live on the land and we'll do a trade because I need somebody to work this land.
Right.
And all of a sudden, when I decided that I can move freely without being afraid of having the dogs let after me, then I don't want to sit here and work and live in this sharecropper house that you gave me where there are holes in the floor and work like a dog. I want to go and find me something better. So all of a sudden you're lazy. You're shiftless because here I am giving you the greatest opportunity of your life to help me and to help you so you'll have somewhere to live and you don't want it. So you're done. You don't think for yourself. So all of a sudden, black people, where are you going to go? You can't read. They didn't want you to be educated.
Right.
Yeah.
It still don't.
Because
It
that's
still
also
don't.
a fear. They still don't.
I mean,
because they have that fear even now. And we're not trying to be harping on stuff, white, black stuff, but it's
Well,
just,
I am,
it is what it is.
I am, because until we get real and start saying
True.
what it is,
True.
then it won't ever change. Until we get real, because you can be at work and people won't want to say the word race because they don't want to offend anybody.
Black,
but it's time
white,
out for not offending, because you not only have you offended me, but you've silenced my people. I have a son that I'm raising.
And you know what? And that's where we are. We've been silenced so that now we're afraid to speak. Like, who is afraid? Even me walking into my office after all of this happened, it's like, what do you say to people? Or what do people say to you? Why are we afraid to have these conversations? Why are we afraid to discuss this? Because this is something that's happening and it is real.
Yeah.
And if I'm angry about it, or I'm so emotionally filled and charged about it, then I'm that angry black woman.
Right.
But you have to realize where the angry black woman stereotype came from. You don't walk into this sharecropper house where I'm staying for free because I'm working your land and take me into your bed and do what you will, have me bear your children, and then all of a sudden I'm working out in the field. That's why I'm angry.
Right.
That's why it's passed
And
down.
it does. All of that is passed down, just like
Right.
we were just talking about the, you know, our black men and black people, period, in slavery days, they were the stronger one. They were,
Right.
you know, physically, they were the stronger one, and mentally too.
Mhm.
You know, they were very intelligent people. They may not have even been educated, but just it was
Right.
innate. You know,
Right.
we were born, you know, black people from wherever
And the
we're
tribal
from, we were
cultures
born
of
that
Africa,
way.
that is what
Yeah.
that is what
To
our
be
culture
strong-willed,
taught
yes.
us. But the thing is, and y'all don't have to pray for me today because I feel it rising up. Because I
It's
really
okay.
honestly feel like if you hold back the conversations,
Mhm.
there will never be diversity and inclusion. Because I need to be able to tell you that there are all different shades of black people. And the reason I am this shade is because not only that, I have Native American,
Mhm.
I have Caucasian, I have West African. So we need to be able to have those conversations.
Which takes me back to one of the reasons that I really dislike the way Trump tried to talk to black people as if we were all one type. We were
Right.
all uneducated. We were
That was
all
ridiculous.
poor. We were all this, so why not choose him? So because of that, to me, that
What do we have
perpetuates
to
the
lose?
very thing that we as African Americans hate, is that we're not all just one person. We're different people.
Right.
So every black man isn't an angry black man. Every black man isn't a bad man. Every black man does not have a
And
gun,
really,
does not sell
most
drugs.
aren't.
And does not sell
Most
drugs, are
aren't.
not going to hit you if you come
Right.
to them, near them. Not every single one. Even the ones who are in the hood that you have already stigmatized or given them, this is how they're shaped, this is how they form. If they got a tattoo, if they have dreads, if they have this, you're already perpetuating what you think they're going to do.
And I'm glad you said that about the hood. When we come back, we're going to talk about why there is a such thing as a
As a
hood.
hood.
We're going to break that down so you can be
Yes.
educated on that. So stay with us on Hearts and Heels. We're going to educate you, inform you, and give you tools so this can stop. Stay with us. You're
Tonight.
listening to Hearts and Heels.
Hearts and Heels. Okay. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. Ooh. Facebook.
I'm going to go ahead because I don't have a lot of time when on the air to explain. But originally, when black people were trying to move into different homes, black people were coming back from the war because you can go and fight for a country that doesn't even see you as a human being when you come back.
Yeah.
But originally, when the lines were drawn for communities and subdivisions and new homes, black people were coming back from the war with the money that they had gotten, and they would go and see homes that they wanted to purchase. They would go
Right.
to the real estate agent and want to purchase this home, and all of a sudden the price was higher or different. And if a real estate by chance told you, it's because they were told that if you have black people in your communities, your property values will go
Go
down.
down.
In fact, there was
Still
a
happens
mandate by FEMA when they
Still
went
happens.
out to draw property lines. If you were in an area where they were all white, you would have a higher property value. If you were in an area where there were some black people, your property value would go down to an F rating. And in fact, government official letters say that if you have black people in your area, this is why. We're encouraging you to keep them out of your area because they're shiftless again. So, what
Where
happened?
did they have to go?
Inner cities, Chicago, different
Right.
places like that, they built brick walls, and then they built little apartments. Y'all stay over
Inside,
here,
yeah.
inside the wall. So y'all stay over here. On this side of the wall, we'll have an F rating, but on this side, we'll have an A rating because we're white. So that's how the hood happened, because you didn't want to live around us. You just wanted us to have somewhere to go.
Yes, and you know it's amazing that you say that, because in Birmingham there's this big hotel, this really fancy hotel called. Okay, thank you. It's this really big hotel called Ross Bridge that's really fancy and nice in Birmingham. If you go to Birmingham, on the other side of the hill is the hood. And it's amazing how literally a block later
Yes.
it's
Oh my gosh.
dilapidated.
Yep.
But then a block earlier it's this really fancy, nice area.
That's how New
And-
Orleans is too.
And it's crazy. Have a seat. Have a seat.
We're talking and we're going in on Periscope and on Facebook. and I think I'm talking before the music starts. I'm so sorry. We've been going in on Facebook and Periscope talking about why there is a such thing as a hood. And so I was telling everyone originally when African American soldiers were coming back from war, they had this money. They wanted to build better lives for their families. And all of a sudden, they went to buy homes. And there was areas where real estate agents could not sell them homes because they were told, hey, do not sell homes to African Americans in these areas or your property values will go down. Why? Because there were government official letters from FEMA stating if you have black people in your area, then your property rating will be an F. But if you have an all-white neighborhood, your property value will be an A. So what do? They take the homes in the subdivisions, keep them white, build brick walls where you cannot see where the African Americans would live, and then build them apartment-based housing so they can all be in one area. Don't build them a community and neighborhood and let them thrive. Build them an apartment where they're stacked on top of each other, no yard, no sometimes no running water, sometimes, so that is why we officially have the hood, because they were told, we're going to build you somewhere for you to live. We're going to help you. We're not going to allow you to work. We're not going to pay you a common wage, so you'll be piss poor.
Right.
You'll live in an apartment for free. And this is going to be your area. Now, on top of that, we're going to start you out with an area rating of F. So that's why it burns me up when I hear people talking about, I just got approved for my government housing, because you're mandating a system.
Yeah.
You're perpetuating a system that was never meant to propel you forward in the first place.
Right. And like you said, never meant to propel you forward. And that's why it's so hard for people to get out of the hood, as you say, quote unquote. And it's like a cycle, and people do get out. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of great leaders and great businessmen and women and just all over the country who have come from, the hood, as we said. We're just going to say that because everybody knows what we're talking about.
Right.
But so that's, we're not saying that if you can't get out, you can. A lot of people get out.
Right.
Most people want to get out, and I say most because some don't.
Now, don't get me wrong, everybody at home who's in the hood. Don't get me wrong.
That's why I say everybody knows what we're talking about when we say the hood.
I think anybody who looks down at their skin and is African American, you know that your ancestors, if not you're one generation from the hood. But it's not your fault. It's because that's where you gonna live, in the street.
Right.
That's the only place you had to go.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what? It's amazing because I just was watching TV the other day, and there's going to be some remodeling of a project, and someone was talking about how nice and beautiful they used to be, and it was amazing to me because somebody was really, I guess in a sense she was saying that the property has gone down, but at the same time I was thinking to myself, we have just got to get beyond the fact of wanting to just receive housing and feeling like a new building or a new place, because you're still stuck in that same place and your mentality has changed. And it goes back to that whole, again, we get back to changing our mentality, because I think that's really where it starts. Like, we don't value ourselves, and therefore we act certain ways. We perpetuate certain things, and we give people reasons to keep putting us in these categories. And not to say that we all do that, but a lot of us do. So therefore people disrespect us. Yeah, and that's how people disrespect, and that's how we get into the case of, he looks like, just even in the case with Eric Garner, he was a big black guy. He could beat this one white guy who's a cop that's smaller, but he has a gun, or we could just keep choking him to keep him down. That's why they automatically go there.
Right, and just like this case with Terrence Crutcher, you just said, with Eric Garner, he was a big black guy.
Yeah.
And one of the helicopter cops said that in this case.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big dude basically. He looks like he's on something, or he could be on something. And that right there, and they've gotten a lot of backlash for those comments. But that right there is how they see our men, especially if they're bigger and powerful and have a strong look about them, and they're scared.
Now we have a big, powerful dude in the studio with us who's going to give us his perspective. Everyone in your car is clapping. Welcome Nick with us to the studio, Hearts and Heels. Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Nick Andrews. Tell us
where you're from, Nick. Because they listening. They listening.
Well, I live in Montgomery.
Rep your city.
Okay.
Rep your city.
But me is not going to be satisfied. I tell everybody, I'm from Monroeville, Alabama.
That's right.
Hey,
Shout out to
Monroeville
Kim
in the
Abney in
house.
Monroeville, Alabama. From Monroeville, Alabama. I
Yeah,
had
Yeah,
to say
shout
that.
out to the Ville. Okay.
That's right.
All right.
Yes, yes. We're gonna have to talk about Monroeville, but tell me, when you hear big black guy, or he looks
A big dude.
big dude, what did that make you feel?
Well, I mean, representing the big black guy delegation,
Mhm.
you know,
Yes.
being a part of that population, it didn't shock me, to be honest. And that's a shame that it didn't. It
Mhm.
should have. But, you know, I sense it in a lot of different situations that I'm in. You know, I walk in a room, first thing I notice, I'm the big black guy.
Mhm.
Now, I've been, I won't say trained. I'm gonna use
Yeah,
that word.
yeah.
Let's use that word.
Indoctrinated.
I've been indoctrinated, trained
Mm-hmm.
to adjust accordingly. Not to necessarily embrace it as, you know, I can beat my chest and say I'm the big guy in the room, but actually to belittle myself and to act like a smaller guy in the room. Be very mindful of my actions, or be very mindful
Yes,
of
to make them
what
more
I say.
comfortable with you. It's like
Yeah.
the King Kong and Jay. Is it Jane?
Yeah.
Or is it?
Jane.
So
Was it-
wait a minute, that is really, because I've never thought about that. So when you walk into the room, you make yourself small because you're big.
Yeah.
So you may be quieter.
Right.
You're mild mannered. You
Yeah,
try
absolutely.
to come across as a gentle giant.
But
Well,
let's
yeah,
be
'cause-
clear.
And you
it's
know what?
because you're
I hate-
big and black, not because you're big. Period.
Right.
And you know what? That really, now that you say the gentle guy, gentle giant, because I've called gentle giant, or you're just a Care Bear. Really, that's derogatory. If you, I mean, in a sense, you never thought about it, but when somebody
Yeah.
say, "Oh, you're just a gentle guy," oh, he's so.
Right. Well, the thing that you know the
Excuse me,
consequence if you are not the gentle guy.
If you don't conform.
If I do not conform, then what's the consequence? Now, I think I'm a nice guy. I think, you know, I don't really.
No, you're not.
But let's think about it.
Guy.
Right.
The young man in Tulsa, everybody that has talked about him, he was a nice guy. The
Right.
guy who was killed in front of that baby in the car because
Right.
the officer
He was a
told
nice
him
guy.
to get his license was a nice guy.
Right.
So it doesn't. You don't have an opportunity to open your mouth. It's what you look
It's
like.
what you look like.
Absolutely.
Period.
Wow.
Period.
And I'm afraid every day when my husband comes home because he's a big black guy. But I don't need nobody small because I'm not a small woman.
Nick, tell when just hearing this, when everything happened the other day, what was your first thought as a black man in this? And be
Well,
real now. We need to be realness.
we're on the radio,
Yeah,
so
it's okay. Be real.
I keep it
PG
please
version.
PG-13. I was like, oh God, not you know this again, really,
Mhm.
you know, it's almost like, you know, it's no shock value to it anymore.
Yeah.
As a black man, it's like, okay, I mean, it's nothing new.
Right.
Now it's just showing up on the news in the past 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
It's just able to be censored. I mean,
Right.
to be
Right,
right, it's
broadcast.
broadcast, but it's nothing new. It's
Right.
not nothing I didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the shameful part is okay, now people are letting you know. Now it's out there and nothing's changing.
Mm.
So what does that say? Before you had the curtain of ignorance you could kind of get by. I
Right.
didn't know.
Oh,
Right.
exactly. Or before, they would arrest black people. They would put them in jail. They would wait till it's too late in the evening. They would release them, and then they would have people go and hunt them like it was a sport. And so the next morning, black people are dead, and nobody knows what's
Nobody
happening.
knew what
because there's not
happened.
a cell phone then.
Right.
I guess, Nick, what I want to ask you is, do you feel that it's a mandate that I know you don't have children yet, but do you feel like it's a mandate that when you do, that you raise them according to how you've been indoctrinated, to be gentle when you go into a room, to let people know that you're not a hostile person, even before you speak?
Unfortunately, I would say yes. And the reason I say this is because Mr. Croucher's father,
Mm-hmm.
he said the thing that scared him the most was that he's a reverend himself. He said his son did what he told him to do,
Mhm.
and he still ended up dead.
My God.
Right.
You know. On top of that, so is if you're a young guy, and men have egos. You know what I
Right.
mean? Police officer pull you over, you're already mad you got pulled over, and then this guy's talking to you in a down way or whatever. you know, you feel like
Making
you've
you
been
feel
treated,
small.
making you feel small, is innately to react to it.
Mhm.
And so you already have to subdue that. And then you have to be worried, is that not enough?
Right.
On
Are
top
you
of that.
are you in fear?
I was just about to ask that.
No, I'm not, you know.
Yeah.
When I get stopped by the police, you know, for instance, I have family members in law enforcement. My uncle's the U.S. Marshal. And so I've always had respect for law enforcement. So anybody that listening, before I get any hate mail,
Right.
I mean, I respect you.
I've always had respect for law enforcement, you know, but I was also taught that you want to survive as well. So in that, you have to, America's a system. Everything
Right.
about America is systemic.
Right.
So if you want to change things, you go to the courthouse, you go to the police department, and you aggravate them. You keep filing complaints. I feel like I was harassed. You know, eventually, if you keep doing enough of that, enough people keep showing up, someone's like, okay, we got to think about this. You got to document.
Mhm.
You know.
I think this, you know what, we have to talk about this some more because I have some questions about the documenting, but we have to go to a break. If you want to chime in, make sure you give us a call at,
269-6785.
and you can watch us live on Facebook or Periscope. You're listening to Hearts and Hills. We'll be right back.
It got good to him.
Right.
Listen, where's Horatio?
I'm gonna.
What's his
What
name?
time? Oh, you said he's
Excuse me,
about to
sweetheart.
call me. Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
about to go figure this out. You can get on over and
Okay. So Nick, this is what we do during
keep
commercial
talking.
break.
Okay.
We just talk about what's going on in the show.
Okay.
Now I like what you said when you said you felt like you're being indoctrinated, and I don't want to see militant, but I do think that until we start calling a fox and a cat,
Right.
that we cannot begin to solve these problems that we're having in our nation.
Right.
And as a black woman, as a mother of a black child, I've seen people say,
A black
"Don't
male
wear
child.
a black male child. Do not wear a hoodie or jogging apparel unless it's apparent that you are jogging. Make sure that you don't, if you're wearing khakis, that they're pressed. Make sure that you wear a suit and wear it well so people will know that you're educated. You have to do all of this, and you cannot even be a child.
Right.
I have to teach my child that you can't play like everybody else."
Right. Well, it's always been like this. I've always been taught there's two sets of rules. Now,
Yes.
what you know to be true in principle could not be necessary.
Mhm.
You know, you would say, well, we all should be able to be equal. We all should have a freedom and expression to who we really are, and be able to do that freely. But as you see, and as we all know, again, and it happens on the news. You can watch it. You can see it in live television. What can happen when you don't follow the rules, or even when you do.
When you do
So
follow.
it's
Even
kind
with
of,
affirmative action, people hate affirmative action. It feels like I've heard a lot of Caucasian people say, "Well, I don't like affirmative action because it's giving you a job that you might not be qualified for," and I
Just
struggle.
because-
I struggle just like
just
you,
because
and
of
you
your skin
don't,
color.
right.
and you
Right.
don't struggle just like everyone else. Because there have been, I used to love when 2020 and Dateline would do those shows where they'd give the same name, same
Oh, yeah.
resume. We're back on.
And welcome back to Hearts and Hills. We're excited for this segment. We have Nick in the studio with us. We thank you so much, Nick. And we also have Horatius Harris, Pastor Horatius Harris from New Birth in Charlotte. Horatius, Pastor Harris? Great, how are you? We can hear you clearly. Can you hear us? Okay.
Welcome to the show,
It's
Pastor
probably-
Harris.
it's
We're glad to
probably
have
just
you with
me.
us.
So we're excited to have you on tonight. Thank you so much for taking a few moments to speak with us in reference to what's going on in your city. I know that I saw some of your videos online last night, and I just want you to share with the audience just what it feels like in Charlotte right now.
pastors are tense. Of course, they're planning and trying to see what's going to happen next to keep the city safe. And so it's a really tough place to be right now, especially for those who are trying to reach out and touch those young people and get their attention.
For those of you who do not know and are just joining us, Pastor Harris is calling in to Hearts and Heals from Charlotte. He's speaking about the unrest that's going on right now in Charlotte. He was there tonight in reference and trying to calm the crowd and to give a ministerial message to the crowd about what is going on. Pastor Harris, can you share with us in your ministry, in your study, how you feel this relates to, I don't want to say the end of times, I just want to say what spiritual message does this relate to you as you think about what you've seen thus far?
Well, when we look in the Bible and we start to see what Paul speaks of in Corinthians, he says, in order to understand the times, you got to look first at the natural, then at the spirit. The natural things start to share with us what's going on in the spiritual realm. So when we look and see that murder and assassination is on an all-time high, an all-time rise, we can parallel that back to a spiritual realm where spiritual assassination and spiritual murder preceded that. And so America introduced it into the country some years ago, and that spirit now is very pervasive. So a lot of this, what we're dealing with, is because America made a decision on certain things and didn't realize the spiritual implications.
Exactly, a gateway spirit, which opened us up to many different spirits that now we have to understand what it is and be able to bind up that strong man. So we've got to get more Christians who understand what we're fighting against to pray on the same accord. Would you agree?
I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. Prayer is essential, and prayer is a strategy that we have to employ. And then most of the time when we talk about prayer, and this is one of the pet peeves of mine, is prayer first changes the person who's praying.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes when we go to pray, we try to change other things. But when you go to God, you have to make yourself available to say, God, what do you want me to do?
Exactly.
And that's what got me involved with being there on the very first night when the riot broke out, and then coming back again on the second night. And so I'm involved because I believe the Lord has called me to this.
So as far as the prayer, because we do know that this is spiritual warfare right now, and it's heavy, just all over our nation is what's going on. How do you, as a pastor, and I know you say you pray and you have to be the one to affect change. You have to go into the midst of it. So how do you think that could catch on? Because, it's something that we know needs to be done. We know that we need to pray. We know that we have to get everybody praying and everybody on one accord. How do you see that happening? As widespread as this problem is, it affects our whole nation. How do you see that happening?
Well, I see it happening because in a way that when we pray, there has to be a corresponding action. Mm-hmm. And that corresponding action, what we do after we pray, is just as important as prayer.
Right, exactly.
Because to hear God and to understand Him and to not do it is sin.
That's exactly right. We were talking about that in Bible study last night.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about what kept Moses out of the promised land. God gave him a mandate, told him to carry out a certain instruction, and he did it a different way. He didn't do what God asked him to do. So you're exactly right. We have a caller on the line. Welcome to Hearts and Heals, caller. What's your name? I think we lost our caller. Let me say this, Pastor Harris. I love what you said. I was talking to someone today, and I was telling them exactly what you just said. First, you have to pray, and then you have to do. God can't bless what you don't do. In I think it's Proverbs 1:3. Was that 1:3 that I gave you? At the end of it, it said, "And whatsoever he doeth shall prosper." So I thank you for what you said, because that confirms something in my spirit, because I've been praying and reading about that all day, that we as a nation first have to pray and be open to hear what God is asking us to do, and then without fear or hesitation, do it.
How do, Pastor, how do you guide what is the voice that you share to your congregation, especially the men that you're in touch with, the men that you are around? How do you keep encouraging them so that they won't be discouraged? And how do you keep your congregation going on so we as a nation can be a part of that?
Well, first of all, I lead by example. So the first night that I went out to the whole promotion about what was going on with the people out in the street, I actually went by myself, because as I was already in my home, I was preparing to go to bed that night, and that's when I prayed. And after I prayed, I heard, go now. And I just got dressed and I left. I didn't call anybody.
Right.
My men, when they found out that I was out there, they was like, "Pastor, don't you ever do that again. Don't go out by yourself." And so the next night I went out, they were there. So I led by example. And when you do that, number one, they know that your heart is in line with what you're saying. And then number two is they start to see the results of what you minister.
Exactly.
And they can see how they're touching hearts and touching lives. Let me share this quick story with you. Tomorrow we have a youth young adult forum. We're inviting all of the youth who've been rioting in the streets. They're coming to our church. And we got, commissioners and, political leaders, and we got the news media coming. So it's a big deal. What makes it a big deal is most of the churches have been trying to connect with bringing leaders or people from the community, but nobody has really touched the young people.
Wow.
How you doing, Pastor? This is a guest here on Hearts and Hills, Nick Andrews. They've given me permission to ask questions.
Go ahead, Nick.
So I hear the theme of doing. I mean, could you kind of expound a little bit about what's part of the work? I could definitely understand and sympathize with the prayer, because we all need it, and that has to be part of it. But if you're 19 years old and you're mad and you're angry and you're really confused, you got a lot of emotions going on. You're talking to other 19-year-olds that maybe listen to this broadcast. What would you tell them in their doing to do? Where would they start?
Well, I'm not going to just tell them. I'm going to show them.
Oh.
That's why we're having the forum. The forum is for them to come. They're going to vent. They're going to tell how they feel, and then we're going to come back with, here's the strategy, how to organize, how to strengthen the movement, and do it in such a way that you get the respect that you deserve.
Wow.
So that's really what they're looking for. They're looking for respect. I'm a human being too. We are human beings as Black Americans. And I'm using my words by choice, because I used to say African American until an African corrected me one day and said, "No, you're a Black American." I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "Because you've got to realize that they are white Africans.
They're
And
sure.
if you say African American, then you put yourself in the same position as those who now come from Africa as white Africans, and now you do." He said, "We refer to you as Black Americans. So use your Black Americans. Be proud of your Black." So what we're doing, I'm showing them, I'm bringing together political leaders, I'm bringing together paralegals, attorneys, creatives, those who are good in social media, those who are good in website design. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to put together a petition that we will use to electronically gather the information through a mobile device to talk about the elements that we want to see change in the policies of holding police officers accountable.
That's right.
And I
That's
think
right.
When a
that-
police officer can shoot someone and be negligent at it and still get put on administrative paid leave,
Right.
that's a problem.
Absolutely. And it's also a great time for voter registration while you have the attention.
We
That's
got
right.
voter registration going on tomorrow. We have the hip hop caucus going to be represented. We got a lot of people coming to make sure we put all the pieces together that these young people can now understand the difference between a microwave and an oven.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
They're a microwave generation. You want something immediate, but guess what? One thing about a microwave, as quick as you heat it up, that's how quick it's gonna cool down. So what you're doing in the streets right now is gonna be worn off within the next month. But if you do it right, it can last generations.
That's right. We cannot continue to think that just having Facebook Live as a weapon is going to take it to the next level. You have to not only know that the Facebook Live is there as evidence, but what do I do with this evidence? We've got to make judicial changes. We've got to understand that this is why our ancestors died, for our right to vote, so that we can get like-minded people in positions of power so that we can make an effect and demand change. If we continue to think that my vote does not count, we'll continue to see these rampant injustices that happen toward our people. You have got, if I can't stress anything enough today, is that you have got to vote for people who are like-minded so that you can make sure that these injustices don't happen in your generation, but stop for the next.
And you know, history of that is because we have something to fall back on. If you understand the decision of Brown versus Board of Education in '54, the Montgomery bus boycotts in '55, it's not into '64 and '65 do you get a Civil Rights Act,
The change.
until you actually get a
It
Voting
takes
Rights
time.
Act.
It's a
You know,
process.
so I mean, you've had the March on Washington.
Mhm.
You've had, the killing of a lot of civil rights leaders. You've had a lot of things happen before you actually saw a lot of this change. Like I said, it's a system, and it moves extremely, extremely slow. But you have to be persistent in your good doing.
That's right.
Now I've seen so much coverage about the riots that are happening there, and of course there have been so many negative things that the commentators and other people across the nation has had to say, because it originally was a protest, and it started to go into rioting. What do you say to those people about your city tonight? What do you say to the world about all the protests and the rioting, and what has it done for Charlotte tonight?
I'm sorry, was that a question for me?
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Okay, I couldn't really hear it, but I think the question was, what do you say to those who've been viewing and they see all the negativity that's being displayed?
Exactly,
or
about
portrayed
Charlotte.
by the media? Was that the question?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I would say you get what you created. This was a creation of our own society, where we didn't realize some of the things decisions we made years ago, what kind of implications it was going to have down the road.
Right.
And
Wow.
so this is a part of not necessarily a negative thing. I think it's just such a high level of frustration. It's an over-the-top frustration.
Exactly.
And we are intelligent people. We know when we've been played.
Wow.
And the kids are very shrewd. They understand it too. Now,
Yes,
some of
kids.
the things that they're doing, it's not right. The rioting is not right. There's, breaking into stores. I understand that. But me being out there with them, I'm hearing and feeling and sensing that frustration. They want change and they want answers. So what I would say to them that's talking about the negativity, what positivity are you doing to even help the culture, to help those who are frustrated, to help those who feel like this is such an atrocity against a people who have helped to build this country? And so what I would say to them is, be a part of the change.
That's right. I feel that, and that resonates with me, to be a part of the change. Pastor Harris in Charlotte, we thank you so much for joining us on Hearts and Heels. You're now a friend of the show,
Yes.
and so
Thank you.
as time goes on, we will definitely call on you so that you can let our viewers know not only what's going on in Charlotte, but I see for you things going on nationally. I see you again being a part of the change, but also implementing new things that will help other generations always be a part of the change. So we thank you for being a part of Hearts and Heels, and we'll have you back on our show soon. All of our listeners, stay with us. You're listening to Hearts and Heels, and we'll be right back.
I'm senior news correspondent Marcus.
That was so great. I hate that when we're live that you guys can't sometimes hear the caller. We hope that we turned it up loud enough. No, they didn't say they couldn't hear.
Oh.
We hope that we turned it up loud enough. That was Pastor Harris. We have him tagged on our Facebook page so that you can go to his Facebook and you can also see who he is. But he's a pastor in Charlotte, and he's been praying about the riots that have been going on there, and he's been out there in the movement trying to minister to God's people, because we need it. We need it.
Nick, what are you gonna do?
Gonna be a part of the change.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I think you're talking about, I'm going to get
No.
it going. I guess. Okay.
No.
Well, for me, it's just, first of all, I think anything that you do, you have to know how to be the example,
Right.
and be as informed as possible, as possible, as much as you can, really. The way I see these things, they're so, it can happen just anywhere, to anybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? And how do you get, I don't know, how do you have a meeting with all black people in America and say, well, we all going to meet in Atlanta, because where they all live,
Well,
Atlanta's the hub, right?
Right, come on. Yeah,
So,
everybody,
yeah.
It probably turned into Freaknik, but,
No.
and we laugh and joke about cultural things, and this is what I'm saying, the conversation that needs to happen between all races. You need to be able to talk about cultural things and understand and be educated on it. One thing I can say is that, I can hear most people, many Caucasians say, well, there's so many black people that do so wrong. All people do wrong. Because sin is not is racist.
Oh.
And we all are privy to sin. So it's just, fear breeds so many things. And there has been a fear of the black man for so long. Fear of him being educated. You want to do it before we come out? Fear of him being educated. Fear of him being empowered. Fear of him being prosperous. There's a fear.
Because we're dominant. Black people are dominant. The race.
And welcome back to Hearts and Heels. We were talking back on our Facebook and Periscope that there's been a fear in this country for so long of the black race. And I know that the one thing that is fearful is, how they set a law that if you had, 1/10 of African American blood in you, that you are now deemed black. And so what's powerful about this black culture is that we have the capacity in our DNA to transform this world.
It's the black seed.
It's the black magic, it's the black seed, and we have the ability to transform it. So so that being said, I think
So my question to the world is that a problem? Because
That
just
is,
yeah, of course, that is the problem.
But just any culture that you mix with, you start to intermingle cultures. So if a white person and a Hispanic get together, then it changes. But why is the fear of the black seed so powerful?
Well, my take on this is that everywhere you go, you see the black seed. You see black culture all through
Every
this
nation.
country.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Well, let's just focus a little bit on America. You turn on TV, you watch sports, and all these things, the music you listen to, a lot of the ideas, a lot of the inventions that are there.
Even during NASA,
Yeah, we saw this.
Yeah.
with the
putting
movie
rockets
came
into
out.
space.
Right,
Black
absolutely.
women.
The buildings that people living in, the White House, buildings downtown Montgomery were built by slaves.
Even the architect now who's developing the Civil Rights Museum,
Right.
she's an architect now because her ancestors who were slaves were the property of a builder, you know?
So the question in America as a corporation is about equity.
Yeah.
Is can you own your blackness? Because your blackness is used, okay? It's there, it's being had, but the problem in 2016 is can you own it?
Wow.
And that's where, once again, I'll go back to my note about saying it's all systemic. You know, you don't get to a place of putting 13% of your population, 43 million people, in line by just happenstance. It's intended to a certain extent. And so what you have to do as a black person is that you have to learn what the system's all about.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and you have to pay attention.
Pay attention.
Pay
Not
attention.
pay attention, but pay attention. Yeah.
I want to, and just this kind of is definitely in line with what we're talking about, and the black seed and the white man's mentality of black people. And this is a letter, a note, a message that David Sadler, and I know many of you know David Sadler. He is the gentleman that did the hug experiment here in Montgomery and downtown at the Biscuit Stadium. And he got a message.
His video's gone viral. So many people across the nation have seen it.
Right. But he posted a Facebook message today from a white man, and this white man inboxed him on his personal Facebook inbox, and I just wanted to read that letter to you. And if you want to chime in, call us at 269-6785.
Quickly.
But basically, this is the message that David got from a white man. Okay, David, I really want to like black people in general, but too many thugs I've seen and can never relate to that. I wish your race was more like you, because the stuff you do is how men are really defined. That's saying a lot coming from me, who hates your race because of how I've seen too many of your color acting. I can change my way of thinking because of men like you, and I would be glad to, but it's too, I'm gonna just say it, damn hard to see the future of that change. If there was only more of you. So please keep trying, keep on doing what you're doing for everyone's sake. This is what white people need to see. I believe that I would hug you. I hope that I could find it inside myself to do it. I just don't know. Too much hatred.
Okay. I was having this conversation with someone earlier. The problem with a lot of people outside of the black culture, you just have one thought of who we are. We are so many different people. We do so many different things. We all love things different. We have different perspectives on life, just like you. So any white person, two white people do not think the same. They don't act the same. They don't have the same values. They don't listen to the same music. They don't watch the same
place.
Every white person does not hate black people.
Right. I'm not saying.
No, I'm not saying you.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. I'm adding to your.
Every white person doesn't have. So
every white person does not have cracked heels.
Right. but so, oh my gosh. So every black person is not a thug.
Right.
And just like you have an issue with some black people that do things that are not ungodly, I have the same issue. So don't put me in a box or put me in a group and expect me to live into that group, because I'm so much more.
Well, and the thing I really want to say about that, and it really gets me going with people say ignorant, uninformed, uneducated, things like that, and that's I would hate to judge all white people.
Yeah, based on
that.
Because I'm going to sound very racist. Because I have a lot of white friends.
Right. Yeah. I don't know how many I have after this show, but that'll sound ignorant because of this. If I had to judge white people, what if I judge white people off the Holocaust?
Yeah.
I judge white people off slavery. I judge white.
Or Donald Trump.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
And you just said, Nick, you hope, you don't know if you'll still have those white friends after this show. No, you will, because the people who love you,
Right.
Doesn't
And they
matter
want
the
to
color
know-
of
Jump to
skin.
my life.
And they want to know, like I have a really good friend, Margaret Lee, shout out to Margaret Lee, and we have these conversations all the time because she raises children who are in love with God's people.
Mhm.
And if something hurts me, then she's hurt by it, and we have those conversations. So you'll still have those friends because they want to know what affects Nick and how do we make sure that people understand that we are all God's people.
Well, absolutely. So they're just
Shut
like,
it down, Nick. You have 6:56.
all right, but I'm just based like Shay said, there's just no
Blanket.
monopoly on
Yeah.
what's good and what's bad
That's right.
based on race.
Because sin is not
Okay.
racist.
Absolutely. But it's the fact that a person can't see beyond their own ignorance about something. Then what if I was to take that judgment? I mean, you are saying something extremely ignorant, whoever you are, and proud of it.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
that is the biggest problem why
And
race,
it's okay.
and it's okay. If you want to know why racism and invert and overt and covert racism is just as bad as overt racism like it was 50 years ago, that's the prime example of it. I am ignorant and I have the privilege to stay ignorant. And I can tell you that, and I expect you to change when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Wow,
we-
that was good. That was good, Nick. I mean, that was
It was.
simply awesome.
And I know we only have a few minutes, but when I read this letter, this note or whatever, I didn't really know what to think about it at first. But the more I sat and kind of pondered and read it again, to me, everybody has their opinion. Everybody feels the way they feel, whether it's good or bad, whether it's hatred, racism, love, whatever it is. So to me, this is twofold. On one hand, I feel like this gentleman that wrote this note, that he he had the courage to reach out to David and speak truly what he felt. This is truly what he feels about the black race.
Now, how did we change his
Okay.
heart?
Right.
Right. So this is he's being transparent, and I have to commend him for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever his words are, I commend him for that. On the other hand, there is a lot of stuff in the letter that, as far as how he thinks, and he was reared how he was reared, whatever that is. Most people that are racist, that hate black people, that hate white people, whatever kind of racist you are, that's how they grew up. That's what they grew up with. So to me, this opens a dialogue. It does open up communication lines to be able to have a conversation.
But he done had all these years.
Yeah.
No. You know what? Tonight's show, if you want to continue the discussion with us, go to Facebook. We will be live for a few more minutes because that's our
On heels off. Yeah.
But I just want to say this. Jesus came to this world to save everybody. We should all love one another. But in addition to loving, we should be able to have compassion towards someone else who's dealing with something. So everybody out there, black females, white people, Chinese, whoever you are, Asian people, Hispanic people, you should be able to have compassion for the black male who's enduring this injustice, for the black female who's enduring this injustice, not because of their race, but because they are human and Jesus came to save us all.
And what I want everyone to do is, if you don't feel any emotions tied to what's going on in our nation, close your eyes and think about whether if it was your father, think about if it was your mother, think about if it was your brother, think about if it was your son. Just think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it. We love you guys. We love all of our listeners, all of our viewers on Periscope and Facebook. We just want for everyone to just do what God has asked, to love one another.
That's right.
To
Take
understand
care of
that-
each other.
Yeah, and understand that if you have blonde hair and blue eyes and I have black hair and brown eyes, that we can still have a conversation about love. That's just who we are.
Yes.
And for all of us here, we just hope that you guys are blessed from your heart to your heels. We'll be back next week, same time, same station, but definitely not the same way because it only gets better. Right, guys?
That's right. Be
So,
blessed, everybody.
That's right. Be blessed, everybody. Good night.
Good night. Now,
Thank you guys for listening to the show. I know it wasn't tension, it was passionate. It was passionate. Look at the Periscope, Shay, and see what you're showing. Okay, all right. So,
Thank you for listening.
that's right. Thank you for listening.
This is not time to go. I just said thank you for listening.
So we're here on Heels
Heels
what you
off.
see is Shay's spider hand come over the top. We're here.
I'm gonna need
Shay,
you
can
to
you
do
turn
that
it
later.
down? The headphones.
Y'all know we dysfunctional, right? We dysfunctional.
No, baby. The middle. Yes.
So give
Look
us a
at that.
second. Give us a second.
So thank you for joining us on Heels Off.
Yes.
This is just where we come in after the show and we talk about what has happened and the comments. And I am like got spit rockets going like crazy today. So sorry. I was passionate about this show today because I need change to happen.
Yes.
Because I don't want to have to teach my son how to be a certain way just so he can survive. My son came to me and wanted to get a sponge, a sponge so he could get his hair to do this. And I was livid. And I told him no, because it doesn't look professional. And I have to tell him that you have to stay professional so that no one would stay professional so that no one would ever look at you and think that you were anything other than a docile, calm young man. That you were. I don't want anyone to relate to you as a thug, and that's sad because as Caucasian, it's a trend.
That's a trend. Just
Caucasian
like
people are
trend
spiking their hair
yeah.
every day and painting their nails
exactly.
black, but they don't get gunned down in the street for it.
Right, and it's really, to me, as we were talking about this, and saying we do have to tell our young men, do this, do that, behave this way, dress this way. It goes right back to slavery. I mean, it's just like a cycle. It goes right back to how
Don't look him in the eye.
Right,
Keep
to
your
how
head
we
down.
had to be as slaves, and there were rules, and you do this and can't do that, and Master and all this kind of stuff. But it's going right back. I said Master, I did.
Yeah,
but
because you have to
it's
keep your
going
head down.
Right back
That's
to
nice.
that. You
Don't
have
give
to
eye
do the
contact.
same
Yeah.
thing with the police today, with people who are in authority, who
Or
are in
with
authority,
exactly
or
because they will
whatever
call
it
the
is,
police.
because they'll call the police, or they'll feel like you're being disrespectful. Or it's like you can't speak up for yourself. You can't, you can't be free in a nation that's supposed to be free.
Yeah, it's sad. It's troubling. It's heart troubling for us to be in a nation like that. But you have to be that way. Not only most people might think, well, I don't have any black sons, so I'm good. No, you want your daughter to continue to grow up, and whoever she marries, you want her to have an opportunity to marry a black man. I have a friend who posted on Facebook the other night.
That's good.
Her husband's car, the battery was dead, so he took another vehicle, but the tail light went out. They were in the living room when her husband pulled into the driveway, and the blue lights were on behind them. She said she immediately was fearful. The kids immediately became fearful. Her husband immediately calls her on the phone, so he'd have somebody on the phone with him, just in case these were his last moments. But she didn't hear the phone ring because she immediately ran outside because she wanted to make sure that she was there to protect him should anything happen. Now, the police talked to him. They went under the hood and gave him some possible solutions to help the water damage that was going to his tail light. But why should you have to come into that mode because you're getting pulled over? Now, Shay has a different story of an encounter.
Well, no, I do want to share two stories, actually, because my son last night, we had this discussion. After all this happened, I love to have these discussions with him. And he was
You don't
telling
love
me,
to, it's necessary.
Well, yeah. I like to get his perspective on things. So I wanted to get his perspective. And what he told me was, Mom, my friend left practice. He got pulled over by the police. But before he did anything, he called me and said, man, stay on the phone and listen. See, that is where my issue and my concern comes. This is why I'm so passionate about this. And I know it hurts me to my heart because my son had to be on a call and listen to everything the police officer said to his friend.
Just in case.
So his friend could feel safe. And then he kept saying, Mama, all I kept thinking was I wanted to be there with them. And I kept thinking, no, I don't want you to go.
Right.
But again, it's not every policeman. We have to look at, because again, this was not a white cop that shot the young man in North Carolina. It was saying it
North
right?
Carolina.
North Carolina, okay.
It was a black officer.
It was a black officer, so it's not just white or Asian. It is the system of policing.
Of fear.
It's
Right.
it's the system of policing and how they feel about African American men and their perspective of who they are. You know, like
You're
Nick
guilty
said,
before you're proven innocent.
like Nick said earlier, it is a shame that you have to dummy down as black men when you walk in a room so other people can feel safe.
Comfortable.
That is unfair to who you are and who God has created you to be.
That's right.
And that is the problem right there, bottom line.
And I got to point this out, friends.
You gotta take your heels off first.
All right, hold on. But a friend's a police officer. I said, you know, I would like to know, would you be surprised if there was a statistic that says that your probability of being killed as a black man is higher than it has been a police officer? You already have a dangerous job, and being out of uniform
Yes, Lord.
and being killed by someone else wearing the same uniform that you wear is probably a higher probability.
What did you say?
It's kind of shook his head about that.
Well, you know,
No,
it's amazing.
but-
I was watching CNN the other night, and this young lady, she was on TV. Her son is a police officer, and she was saying he was racially profiled several times, and he's an officer. So, again, it's just the black man and what he represents. I put this on my page the other day, that society is afraid of his mentality, his spirituality, his very being, his existence
Presence.
creates fear for everybody else.
And we're not saying all police officers are bad. Like, and I feel like that racist statement. I have friends that are black, but I have family members in New Haven, Connecticut, who are police officers who work hard every day to make sure that there's justice for all people. And I know that they're good people, but we don't know all people. And we're not just saying police officers. We're saying anyone who has the ability to carry a gun, shoot first, take a black life, and still be okay. And
Right.
still not have fear of going to jail, not have fear of justice being done for the families of those black people, and then turn around and sell the gun that they killed them with on eBay. That's what I'm saying.
Hello.
And let me say this, because
That was immoral. You should have went to jail. There should have been a law for you going to jail for just being a bad American. Because I wanted to say something else.
Well, you know, one thing I will say is I always feel like the fear is, you know, I think sometimes is that they fear, it's not the fear that we want justice. I think sometimes they fear that we want revenge. We don't want revenge, we just want
We want
justice.
to stop.
But the reaction is, I think, but when you've done somebody, if I've done something to you, and then you know how hard it is when you have to look at somebody, I don't have this problem, I haven't done anything to anybody, but I was going to imagine if I did something to you.
And not knowing if the forgiveness is there.
And not knowing if the forgiveness is there.
Right.
So I have a precaution, because I may think if somebody had did me the way
I'm going to get you.
Right. What would happen if the shoe was on the other foot? How would it be taken?
I'm waiting on the other side of the door.
I'm waiting
and
on
you know my
at the door.
she said my greatest disappointment in this whole entire situation is that every single time that a black male is killed, the very first thing they do is go back and try to find their record, see what's happened. Let me tell
Because
you this.
20 years ago, he smoked marijuana with Oprah Winfrey, so he's bad.
Let me say this.
Obama.
Let me say this. We have all sinned. We have all done something that we either got caught for, we did our time, or we paid our fees, or we didn't get caught for.
But by grace, there go I.
And it's not on our record. So,
Hallelujah, because Mia was a heathen before Jesus.
whatever he did prior to that
Doesn't
very
matter.
moment had nothing to do
Does
with
not
that
matter.
very moment.
Well,
And see,
Does
that
not
is
matter.
one of the issues that we're having, because you're trying to justify, and you cannot justify that he smoked crack 2 years ago, or he sold drugs. So what? We all change. It don't take but one day
Marion
to
Barry
change.
smoked crack and was reelected.
It doesn't take but one day to change, and that is so unfair that they're digging up his record to try to make him something
I
that
never
he's
done
not. He is a man that had a family that was killed, and that is unfair.
We're on Facebook.
Yeah, come on.
Say hi. Come here, Jojo.
But that is unfair.
We gotta pay you to be on Facebook Live.
You said what?
We gotta pay you to be on Facebook Live. So you say?
No, not really.
That is really
What's the topic?
unfair. So come on in.
Come on, come in and have a seat.
I will then.
We'll cut you a check. Don't cash the check. Come have a seat right here.
Which one?
You want to sit right here.
Which one?
You can sit right here.
Announce yourself to our Periscope. Sit right here. Announce yourself to our Periscope and our
door,
Facebook.
so we
Our
may
Facebook
come
viewers.
in.
Yes.
Hey, everybody.
So, who are you?
My name is JoJo McToy, the voice of Alabama State University Athletics.
JoJo.
Former disc jockey right here at WVAS, where it all started before we went to iHeart and all that other stuff. But just wanted to come back and just say hey.
Well,
This is Heels Off. This is the show that we do after Hearts and Heels from 6 to 7
Okay.
on 90.7 FM. And we're talking about the police shootings that have happened recently and talking about how we feel. We had Nick here on the show giving his perspective as a black man. So how do you feel? What precautions do you feel that are unnecessary, but you do have to take in order to make sure that you're safe? And I don't know if you have any sons or...
It's really weird because you brought up this, and me and Rob Taylor were just talking about this. The most ambiguous word right now is precautionary. Because I got a firearm to protect myself after I had an incident. But now I have to watch not only for the bad guys, but I'm watching for the good guys also.
Yeah.
What can I do or what can I teach a young black man that will make a police officer feel safe?
Do the Michael Jackson.
We watched a man actually lay on the ground and put his hands in the air and still got shot.
That's right.
So what is the next thing to do now to make a police officer feel safe?
And they're supposed to be making us feel safe.
What training is going on? I would love to sit in the training room and see what's going on. And everybody always comes up and they're like, JoJo, we should do an open forum. We shouldn't do an open forum because the only people that are in open forums are the people who think alike.
Yes.
Right.
Who think alike.
That's right.
Why am I going to have an open forum with people that are going through the same thing I'm thinking of? We're all thinking the same thing.
Well, I always said this: police officers, they have discretion, right? So if I'm gonna pull you over, how fast is too fast? Okay, is 60 too fast? Is 65 and 55 too fast? So if I have a bias already, if I'm a white woman or a white guy that has a bias towards black people, then I'm gonna use the discretion as a police officer to implement that bias.
Exactly.
So there and again, it's not necessarily a police officer thing, as much as it is if I have a
bias,
a true racial bias
And you know what?
I can react to and I can get away with.
And their biases against each other. Like
Of
we
course.
have a lot of biases, and let's just be realistic.
Absolutely.
you
There's some
can't be
places.
skinny and be around me. I don't like you.
There's some places that I go and I have extra precautions.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, let's get that
So
person.
I do get that. I do get that there are some people that I look at and I may form an opinion about. But your job as a police officer, you took an oath not to form that opinion, but to
That's
have
right.
give everybody that blanket. So
Or not to act on that opinion.
I didn't take an oath.
Because you haven't.
That's right. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. If I get in an elevator with someone and they have sagging pants and they sponge their hair, I'm gonna take a precaution. I'm just gonna be honest. If you look like you got up this morning, I'm gonna get ready. If you look like you got up this morning, you just jumped out of bed to go see what you could do, and you didn't iron anything, you don't have respect for yourself. So I'm thinking you don't have respect for me.
Right.
And I don't care what color skin. You could be Asian.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm gonna use all my Tybo.
And here's one point. Here's one point that I brought up also. Police officers are the only entity that don't speak the wrong for their fellow officers.
Right.
Oh.
No
If you
snitching code is deep.
if you go to CNN and a reporter says something off the wall, you can turn to Fox
And they're gonna talk about
they're
it.
going to talk about that report.
That's right.
If a teacher, just with the trending topic now, Teacher Bay that's out now. Everybody knows that. Teacher Bay. There's other teachers that are saying,
No,
well,
she's
I
not.
wouldn't have wore that out. But when has the last time you've seen an officer get on a highway or he was wrong for that.
Well, you already see that though when she shot him, but the other two used tasers.
Right.
Okay.
But they're not going to speak
but
on it.
but they're not going to speak on
Right,
it.
of
When have
course.
they gotten in front of the camera and said
Right.
that officer was wrong?
Exactly.
When have you ever seen a police officer
When,
say that officer
when their
was
career
wrong?
wasn't finished.
That officer was wrong.
And that's a good
They'll
point.
say, well, I can't make an assumption until the investigation totally goes
exactly.
through.
That's
So
right.
when have you seen one to come out and look at the tape that was on television, the one that the whole nation has saw,
And
say
show where an error was
he was
made.
wrong?
Never.
Yeah, and that's,
Even
that's
point
a really
out,
good point.
even point out,
Yeah.
that's where he did it wrong.
Because
That's where his training went wrong.
They saw exactly what she saw. They were right there exactly where she was, and they made the decision to use tasers, and she made the decision to use a gun. So really, those would be the people. Just say, you know, if they were regular citizens and standing next to this police officer, to have the same perspective and say yes she should have or yes she shouldn't have.
Right.
Those would be the people to actually be able to answer the questions.
I mean, you
truthfully.
have a firearm to protect yourself from the bad, but now you have a firearm now, and you're wondering that firearm that you got to protect you from the bad. Even the good people might even take you
Well,
out for that same
also,
firearm.
well, the police officers don't even follow protocol. I'm not trying to tell police officers to do their job because I know, but if you have not only you have a firearm, you have mace, you have taser. You may have
But
several.
you can't use that on a big black
And don't
dude
you have
because
that
the taser doesn't work. They just
Right.
keep on
might be
coming.
on something.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't you still have that stick?
Right, but you know,
they have it.
if you're not see that's
That's
the
it, we
that's
back
the
to Birmingham.
breakdown. You know, that's the
Don't do
breakdown of it all. Of saying that if you have all these different ways of diffusing the situation, or you could just be patient.
Or don't aim for the chest.
Oh,
If
well,
you take
Aim
out
for
a
the
knee,
leg.
if you take out a knee, they follow any time.
but no. But see, if a police officer pull his or her gun,
They're going to shoot you in the
that's
deadly
but see,
place.
that's the only reason you're supposed to pull it. That's the time. It's not. This is not the time.
I
You know,
was
this.
being
You know,
nice.
police
if you
officers
feel
don't
an
have.
imminent threat,
Right, it's not a warning shot from a police officer.
Right.
This is not about a
the
warning.
key word is
I'm
imminent.
playing with
Okay,
you.
Imminent
so-
saying at that moment,
Mhm.
that moment in time, the word imminent,
Protect yourself.
that moment,
Right.
now protect yourself. Imminent doesn't mean the steps or the minutes.
That's what the
that
taser
came
is.
of it.
Because you think
When I
he
got
might
out
be
the
about
car,
to. Mhm.
I wasn't in an intimate threat.
Right.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes,
Police
you was
officers-
the big black guy.
Police officers take intimate threat as soon as they pull over the car.
Right.
They're already ready to shoot.
And see
Yeah,
that I was going
that's
to get
true.
back to what about is it Alton Sterling, the one that was in the car?
Philander.
Philando.
Philando.
He was in the car. Like, why did you even approach with your gun?
Yeah.
Why did you approach with your gun?
You-
out?
And
ask him to
I
give
tell
the-
you,
to give
and,
you your
and the
license.
first thing out of my mouth to you is, I'm armed and I have a license to carry. That was the first thing out of my mouth to you. I put you already. I should have put you in a relaxing. I should have. If you came up to my car already thinking that you're going to have to fire, and I tell you I am armed and I have a license and my firearm is on my side, you have put the police officer in a better situation to handle it besides firing.
Let me tell you, I watched
And
this
in front
video.
of that
This really hurt me. I was watching, and it was 3 white guys carrying rifles, talking nasty to the officer. Not one time did he pull out his
Oh,
gun.
you can do that when you're white now. You can do that when you're
But
white.
what I'm
That's-
saying
that's
is-
white
Because you're not
privilege.
big and
I'm
you're not
sorry,
black.
But
That's
what
white
I'm saying
privilege right
is,
there.
he didn't even have the gun out.
Yeah.
Like, no gun is showing. I mean, they walking.
Because white people don't mean to kill you. They just like to shoot deer.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
That
what they
it
think.
puts you
the
in a common
mentality.
state.
Right.
Puts you in a common state.
That's the mentality.
He is my brother. He would not
He wouldn't
shoot
do
me.
that.
He's not looking to do that.
They don't see
But a
other
black
white
person-
people as a threat.
That's right. But a black person, you have years and generations of hostility. I have always been taught and bred to look out for the black man because he's always going to try to get us back for what we did.
And you know what? Basically, I've said this for so many times. So for the past year, police, they were never created to protect and serve black people. They were
weren't.
created to protect and serve white people, and that's what they do.
That is true.
That's true.
That is true. I mean, it's sad. The only time a 6'7", 300 pound black man is considered your best friend is when he has on your favorite NFL helmet. And he's
That's
blocking.
right.
That's
He's
right.
blocking, but
That's
he's your
right.
best friend now.
But don't have on that jersey
But
when I
don't
pull
have
you
on
over.
that jersey when I pull you over or that helmet on,
that-
and all of a
and
sudden
that
you're a
is
different
why
person.
they were
And you
so-
just left You just left the stadium cheering
Right.
for him.
Right.
And that is why they're so frustrated with Colin Kaepernick and every single person that's following, because now you're allowing what I think of you to interfere
And-
With
cheer
what,
for.
how you entertain me.
And also, this is the this is the NFL, and there's been a lot of jokes been made. But if any place, I'll get in trouble for this, is a plantation,
Hello, somebody.
it's the NFL.
True.
Run.
That is true.
Okay.
That is
Go
true.
for it,
So,
Forrest, run.
you know, this, you want to talk about a Nat Turner experience. This is
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick being Nat Turner of today in the NFL.
Well, Colin
Standing
Kaepernick,
there.
and there's an interesting statistic. Colin Kaepernick, they had a poll about the most hated NFL players going on right now. Compared to last year, Colin Kaepernick was at 6%. This same time last year, he's at 6%. Now he is the most hated player in the NFL. Why? Because he plays dirty? No. Because he asks for too much money? No. Because he has some domestic problems?
No.
Does he ever have some drug problems? He has done nothing to be
But
hated,
stand for himself.
but stand for himself. And that just shows that people are just so full of hate that not even when you're a threat, you haven't even done anything to
He's
anyone.
unpatriotic.
He's not doing
know,
what they
he's-
want him to do
yeah.
anymore.
And you know what I really loved was, I think it was Marshawn Lynch. He had to go and speak in front of the reporters. He didn't take any questions, which means that
Right.
he was going to receive a fine.
That was Richard Sherman of the
Okay,
Seattle.
thank you for
Seahawks.
correcting. I thought
Right.
it was,
Ex-teammate.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
his ex-teammate, right, right.
He didn't take any questions, and that's immediately a fine.
Mm.
And he spoke everything that he needed to say.
Yes.
And I was so proud, because to me, he took an opportunity to really say, this is why we held arms together. This is why Colin Kaepernick is kneeling down. This is why the nation is following suit. This is why a 10-year-old girl is kneeling. Because I was watching on ESPN, they were talking about this 10-year-old girl. This one guy was so mad because the parents allowed that to happen. No, they see a problem. It is a
And you need to
problem.
open your eyes and
It
see
is
it
a
too.
real
I had a
issue.
friend, and she's still my friend on Facebook, and I wanted to comment, but I couldn't because I was so angry. I wasn't angry, I was hurt. She put her children, they had career day or something at school, or hero day or something, and her 3 boys were dressed up. One of them was a football player, and she said, he is such and such, look him up, he's great, hashtag, something patriotic. I think that's what it was. And I was so angry because what you're saying is you don't give a crap about me. And you can justify it all you want. This is a country, you live in this country, you're supposed to love your country. This country allows you to be great. That is not what you were saying. What you were saying is because he thought enough about himself and the people who look like him to sit down, because the third stanza of that doggone anthem talks about the lynchings, okay, and praising it for it. What you're saying is you don't care about me. And no matter how you slice it, that's what you were saying by saying my son is dressed like this NFL player, because he would never dress like him because he is unpatriotic.
I think the fact that
I
they
got you.
put that above what is issue.
The reason.
The root,
right.
the cause of
You
why he's doing it.
put the fact that he kneeled above a greater issue than the reason why he's kneeling. So the fact that he's
Telling the truth
kneeling
anyway.
is worse than the fact of why he's kneeling.
What
that's
you're
what-
saying
that's what
is
they
I'm
do.
good enough to come to your house and sell you merchandise, because I've done that. I'm good enough to come to your house and sell you merchandise, but I'm not good enough to sit at your dinner table and have a conversation about what hurts me.
Yeah.
No.
That's
Don't
the
ask me
problem.
Or I can go
That's the
out and
problem.
play a sport, which at any given time, I could lose my life.
Yeah.
I could, be
Get a
injured to the
concussion.
fact that I probably could not walk anymore, with
When
all
you
the
50,
concussions
you can't
going on.
think no more.
But, it's a gladiator mentality, the old Roman gladiator mentality, the thumb up, the thumb down.
Right.
And then after that, we have no more use
It
for
And
it.
people
really
don't-
reminds me of when just y'all talking. It reminds me of Roots, the movie,
The real
Why,
Never
yeah.
watched it.
And the
I
reason
know
it
Which
you
reminds
one? Which
me
one?
of
We talking
that-
about LeVar Burton?
We're talking about
or,
LeVar Burton.
Okay. all
So
right.
it reminds me of when
Kunta and the Reading Rainbow.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
in that when Chicken George, he was the master, I forgot his name,
Mhm.
praised him, and
That's his
right, that basically was his
Mhm.
dad. But And back then, when they were strong black men and they could do something, they could fight chickens, they could do this, they could do that, and they got all these praises, and I'm behind you and I'm behind you. But as soon as you're not doing what I want you to do, as soon as you stand up to me, as soon as you talk back to me, whatever,
or as soon as I'm in debt,
then we want to lose you, right?
Yeah,
or we want to sell you, or you're not valuable to me anymore because you're not doing what I want you to do anymore. You standing up for yourself. You are going your own way. I don't need you no more. You're not valuable to me. It's the same thing. It's the same concept.
Well, my concept, my old questions about, I know things can get better, but that doesn't mean things have changed. You know, I kind of like giving a grade. I had a son that came in, you got an F on a paper, and then you came back and you got a C. Do I say, oh my God, you so great, you got a C? I'm glad you got a C.
Keep pushing.
But the A is the goal.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we are in America, a lot of places, that we don't see, that we think that somehow somebody stood on a pole and said, racism ended, you know, and
they signed an agreement.
They signed an agreement.
The Emancipation Proclamation did it all.
Yeah, right, yeah, clearly not. But all of a sudden racism's over with, so there's nothing else to talk about. And then everything else you say is just an excuse, and it's a further reason why black people are, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, let me say this: the number reason you can't sweep it under the rug until it's taught in the schools, so kids understand what it is and they can come together. Because if our children can come together, then we can kind of push this out. But we're being taught at home different things.
Right.
And I remember the first time I ever experienced blatant racism. I was at home from freshman year of college, and I was working at, it's like, you know how they have those like rallies, burger places? I was working at Central Park. And this man came to the window, and I'm smiling, and he looked at me like he was surprised. I don't know if he was surprised that I was articulate, and he didn't think that was me that just took his order. But as I handed him his food, he handed me the money, and when I went to hand the money to him, he gave me a cup and told me to put my change in the cup. He didn't want to touch me. I had to put his change in a cup and then hand him his food. After that, I was so militant, I didn't know what to do. And, you know, I wanted to flip change out the window, you know. And that's what it was. He wouldn't look my way, and he put his cup out the window.
Yeah.
So the question is, if this is a big wound, we can't, you know, stitches and all of, what is the Band-Aid for now?
You know,
what is the Band-Aid? I'm not saying what is the operation.
That's not the cure.
What is the what is the stitches?
Yeah.
But where do we start? Where's the Band-Aid? What is the you know, the
where do we start?
Where do we start?
I mean, I think the pastor said something really powerful. We got to start with prayer. First of all, we got to start with prayer. Those who know that God can change everything, we got to start praying. But I think the second and most important thing is not just, I think we had an attorney, and I say this all the time, we had an attorney on a while back, and he said that we have to be able to come to the table and understand as black people that everybody is not against us, but as white people, there are racism, there are racist things happening, and there are injustices and oppressions that are happening, and we have to be able to start conversations and figure out what has happened, because this police thing this week has proved that it's not just black and white, it is a police thing, because this was a black officer who shot a black man. So we have to look at what is it that we're teaching. And also it starts, I keep saying this, but we have got to, in our community, start teaching our young people to just be respectful, not only to other people, but to yourself. So when you're out, don't act like a thug. You know, I was downtown today, and somebody, I saw the 3 young boys. One of them had his pants halfway down. The other one had gold in his mouth, and the other one had his hat back. And for a second, I got nervous, and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm not. But this is the thing, and I made a decision not to be scared. And I made a decision to say, these are young men who've just not been given the opportunity to excel in what they've been given, and it's all because as black men they're taught to dummy down. So therefore, since slavery, every man has had to be less than what he could be, and now
just to make you feel comfortable.
And so now we have oppression in the workplace. That's why black men they can't get jobs. You know, they can't get jobs. They can't get jobs. They can't
if they don't dumb themselves down, if they don't dumb themselves down and you hate to say that, like
You want
like
too
you
much.
said, right. If they have that you know, that strong presence, and that they're educated and they're articulate, and it is a
can't.
problem. They either don't get the job, or if they do get the job, they end up getting pushed out of the job.
Well, yeah, I have an experience with this a couple years ago. And God knows I won't say names, but it was a big company. And I went through the whole interview process. We're talking about 2 or 3 months, okay? And for being where I am, I would be the only person of color. I hate that, but the only person of color
Hey.
to work for this type of firm. At the end of the day, I'm so thankful for this guy. I can buy him lunch, but he just told me the truth. He just told me the blatant truth. It has nothing about you being smart enough to do this. You're very capable of doing this, but I have a concern that if I hire you, how would you succeed? Will the people who are here do business with you because of who you are?
Wow.
That was 3 years ago.
But you got to respect that honesty.
No, I'm not mad at him.
You have to
But-
respect
Okay,
that
But
honesty.
you
I'm
mad
not-
at the fact
At
that
the
we're
system.
still-
At the system, because
Mhm.
like I put on Facebook, a bad system will beat good people all day long.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just
And
what
that
it is.
is
That's
what's
true.
happening to our black men. We can continue this discussion for
Ever.
Ever. But
But-
you know, one of the one steps is the next time. You know, I would love to see you guys do another episode
We
of
will
this,
next week.
and then have somebody who just has a blatant fear of black people.
They
On
won't
the
come
show.
out of the wood.
No,
It's like
you will
termites.
find one. You will find one now. Now that we have
Okay.
a presidential nominee that
So here
has
we
no
go.
problem being
Oh, yes.
racist.
Okay, so
You know.
here's the call out. So
Here's
if you
the
know
call out.
someone, if you know someone out there who's just blatantly scared of black people,
But it's
I'm
not
willing to
fearful
sit
of
down.
coming in here with us and letting us hug it out.
yeah, I mean because
And
you know
sit
what,
down
I
and
would
tell
love
them.
to have that conversation.
And
Leave
Tell
your
me
guns.
why.
Right.
Tell me why.
Yeah.
You know, tell me why.
And it could be
has
something
this been a
simple.
learned? Has this been a family learned thing?
Right.
Did you have an incident that happened? You know, because that's where you're going to start that bridge. You're going to start that dialogue, because one of the two things is going to happen.
That's
Either they're going to leave out of here with the same mentality, or they'll leave out of here with a different mentality
That's
and
right.
realize, oh my
Education.
goodness, I have been wrong for so many years.
And you
know,
can wear a
us
mask.
talking.
And you can wear a mask if you want to. You can wear.
That's right.
Thank
But you have
so
to have
much.
somebody on the other side of the
You
table.
have to have somebody else on the other side of the table.
Thank you guys
Thank you
so
guys.
much for Heels Off. We
Shout
love you
out
guys.
to JoJo for coming in and
Yeah.
We
having
got
a
to see everybody here Saturday, right? Everybody's going to be at the game Saturday?
Listen, I graduated from Alabama A&M
Lord,
University.
here we go.
From Alabama A&M University.
What
Shout out to all my
happened
Bulldogs.
You gonna let me in free?
Look, that's a cultural thing.
See, that's
See,
now there
that's
you go.
cultural right there.
There's a cultural thing right
See you
there.
guys later. Thank you so
Shout out
much.
to Nick for coming
Thank
in.
you,
with us.
Nick.
Thank you,
Were
Nick.
scratching your nose on
Thank
the
you,
pillow?
Pastor.
I didn't know that.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Yes, he'll be back.
It won't stop.
Oh, no.
Yes, you will.
I'll come back as a white person.